On the morning of my 64th birthday, I found a cream-colored envelope on my doorstep. The paper was heavy, expensive, the kind you use for important announcements. Inside was a wedding invitation. Michael and Jessica request the honor of your presence. I sat down at my kitchen table, the one where I'd fed Michael breakfast every morning for 18 years, and I cried. Not sad tears, happy ones. The kind that come when you realize your loneliness might finally be ending. I'd been alone for 5 years. 5 years since Robert died of a heart attack in our backyard while trimming the roses. 5 years of eating dinner by myself, of talking to the television, of pretending I was fine when cashiers asked how my day was going. Michael was my only child. After Robert died, he'd thrown himself into his work, traveling constantly for his consulting firm. I understood. Grief makes us all run in different directions. But it had been lonely watching him pull away. Then he met Jessica. She was a dental hygienist, 10 years younger than Michael, with a warm smile and an easy laugh. The first time he brought her to Sunday dinner, she'd hugged me at the door. A real hug, not the stiff kind some people give their boyfriends' mothers. "I've heard so much about you," she'd said. "Michael talks about his mom constantly." That dinner, she'd asked about my garden, my book club, my volunteer work at the library. She'd looked at the photos on my mantel and asked questions about each one. She'd called me Carol, not Mrs. Bennet, which somehow felt right. When they left that night, Michael had hugged me tight. "I think she's the one, Mom," he'd whispered. I'd thought so too. Over the next year, Jessica became part of our lives. She came to Sunday dinners. She texted me photos of flowers she thought I'd like. When I mentioned my arthritis was acting up, she researched anti-inflammatory recipes and brought me a cookbook. "I never had a mom growing up," she told me once over coffee in my kitchen. "Foster care, you know. Lots of houses. No real home. I always wondered what it would feel like to have a mother." She'd reached across and squeezed my hand. "Now I know." I'd squeezed back, my heart full. So when Michael proposed and asked me to help with the wedding, I said yes immediately. "Whatever you need," I told him. "This is your day." "It's your day too, Mum," he'd said. "Your family." Jessica had hugged me, tears in her eyes. "I want you involved in everything. Will you help me choose my dress?" We'd spent a Saturday at bridal boutiques, sipping champagne, laughing. She'd asked my opinion on every gown. When she found the one, she'd turned to me first. "What do you think, Mom?" Mom. She'd started calling me that naturally, and I'd never corrected her. "You look beautiful," I'd said, and meant it. Planning the wedding became my project. Michael's consulting business was thriving, but between his work travel and Jessica's rotating dental clinic schedules, they didn't have time for the details. I did. I had nothing but time. "Let me handle it," I'd offered. "I want to do this for you both." Michael had hesitated. "Mom, weddings are expensive. We can't ask you." "You're not asking. I'm offering." I'd made a good living as a commercial real estate agent before I retired. Robert's life insurance had been substantial. The house was paid off. My needs were simple. "Please, let me give you this." Jessica had hugged me. "Are you sure? It feels like too much." "Family isn't too much," I'd said. So I'd written the checks. The venue, a historic estate with gardens overlooking the river, $25,000 for the day rental. The catering, $18,000 for 150 guests. The flowers, the band, the photographer, the cake. Each expense felt like an investment in happiness, in family, in not being alone anymore. I'd also helped with the house. Michael and Jessica had been renting a cramped apartment. "We're saving for a down payment," Michael had explained. "But in this market, it'll take years." "Let me help," I'd said. I'd given them $75,000. Enough for a down payment on a lovely 3-bedroom colonial in a good neighborhood. "Consider it an early inheritance." Michael had protested, but I'd insisted. "I want to see you settled while I'm here to enjoy it. What good is money if I can't use it to help the people I love?" They'd bought the house in March. I'd helped Jessica pick paint colors, choose light fixtures. We'd spent weekends at Home Goods, laughing over throw pillows and debating area rugs. "You have such good taste," Jessica would say, deferring to my choices. I'd felt needed, useful, like I mattered to someone again. The wedding was set for August 15th. By late July, everything was falling into place. The final details needed to be confirmed, so I arranged to meet with Rachel, our event coordinator, at the estate on a Thursday afternoon. Rachel was in her early 40s, professional and precise. She ran the estate's events with military efficiency, and I'd appreciated her attention to detail throughout the planning process. Carol. She greeted me in the entrance hall, tablet in hand. Let's walk through the timeline once more. We spent an hour reviewing everything. The ceremony would be at 4 o'clock in the garden, cocktails on the terrace at 5, dinner in the ballroom at 6:30. Rachel showed me where the band would set up, where the head table would be positioned, how the lighting would transition as evening fell. Michael's giving a toast, correct? Rachel asked, making notes. Yes, and I'm saying a few words as well. Rachel smiled. I'm sure it will be lovely. You've put so much love into this day. I'd been writing my speech for weeks, practicing in front of my mirror. I wanted it to be perfect, welcoming Jessica into our family, telling Michael how proud I was, expressing my joy at not being alone anymore. We finished the walkthrough around 3:30. I was gathering my purse when Rachel touched my arm. Carol, could I speak with you privately for a moment? Something in her tone made me pause. Of course. She glanced around the empty ballroom, then gestured toward a small office off the main hall. Inside, she closed the door. I don't know if I should be telling you this, she began, her voice low. It's not my business, and I could lose my job if anyone knew I'd overheard. My stomach tightened. What is it? Rachel took a breath. Yesterday afternoon, Jessica came by with her bridesmaid to finalize some details. I was in the storage room behind the bridal suite, restocking linens. They didn't know I was there. Jessica was on the phone. She paused, clearly uncomfortable. Rachel, please. What did you hear? She was talking to someone I don't know who. She said Rachel met my eyes. She said, once we're married, Michael gets his full inheritance access. Give it 6 months, maybe 8. Then I'll file. California's a community property state. I'll get half of everything, including that house his mother paid for. The room tilted. There's more, Rachel continued quietly. She laughed and said something about playing the sweet daughter-in-law role. She said you were so desperate for family you'd believe anything. She said Rachel's voice dropped. She said, the old lady already handed over almost 100 grand. Easiest money I've ever made. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. The walls seemed to press inward. I'm so sorry, Rachel said. I debated whether to tell you, but I kept thinking if it were my mother, I'd want someone to warn her. I managed to nod. Thank you, I whispered. Do you need to sit down? Can I get you water? I need to go. I stood on shaking legs. I need to think. Rachel pressed her business card into my hand. If you need anything, a witness, a statement, call me. I'll help however I can. I drove home in a fog, parked in my driveway and sat in the car as the sun lowered, trying to make sense of it. Jessica had seemed so genuine. The hugs, the texts, calling me Mom. Had it all been an act? I thought back over the past year, searching for signs I'd missed. The way she always asked about Michael's work bonuses, how she'd steered conversations toward my financial planning, small comments about wanting security for their future children. Had I been blind? Or had I just been so desperate for family that I'd seen what I wanted to see? My phone buzzed. A text from Jessica. Can't wait for the big day. Love you, Mum, too. I stared at the heart emoji. Was it real? Or had every I love you been calculated? But Rachel had been clear. She'd heard what she'd heard. Jessica wasn't planning a life with Michael. She was planning a heist. I went inside, made tea with trembling hands, and sat at my kitchen table. The same table where I'd imagined future Sunday dinners with grandchildren, where I'd pictured Jessica and me baking Christmas cookies together, where I'd allowed myself to believe I wouldn't die alone. It had all been a lie. The hurt was crushing, but underneath it, something else stirred, something colder. I'd survived losing my husband. I'd built a successful career in a male-dominated industry. I'd raised a good man by myself. I wasn't some helpless old woman to be conned and discarded. I wiped my eyes, opened my laptop, and started researching. By midnight, I'd hired a private investigator. His name was David Chen, and his website promised discreet, thorough background checks. His rates were steep, but I didn't care. I needed to know the truth. I can have preliminary results in 72 hours. David said when I called Friday morning. Full report within a week. The wedding's in 2 weeks, I said. Then I'll work fast. I gave him everything I knew about Jessica. Full name, date of birth, previous addresses Michael had mentioned casually over dinners. David took notes in a calm, professional tone that suggested he'd heard versions of this story before. One question, he said. Does your son know you're doing this? No. Are you going to tell him? I thought about Michael. Sweet. Trusting Michael who'd been hurt badly in his 20s by a girlfriend who'd cheated, who'd sworn off serious relationships for years before Jessica, who'd been so happy when he proposed, like he'd finally found his person. I don't know, I admitted. If I tell him now and I'm wrong, I'll ruin his wedding and his trust in me. If I'm right and I tell him. I couldn't finish the sentence. I understand, David said gently. Let's get the facts first. Then you can decide. The next 72 hours were agony. I went through the motions, confirming final vendor payments, picking up my dress for alterations, responding to Jessica's cheerful texts with emojis I didn't feel. On Monday afternoon, David called. I'm sending my preliminary findings to your email. You should sit down before you read them. My hands shook as I opened the attachment. Jessica Marie Thornton, age 35, born in Portland, Oregon. Married at age 24 to Richard Mendoza. Divorced 18 months later. Settlement: $40,000 plus half equity in marital home. Married at age 28 to David Park. Divorced 22 months later. Settlement: $85,000 plus vehicle and investment accounts. Both ex-husbands had been significantly older and financially stable. Both marriages had lasted just long enough to qualify for substantial community property splits. Both divorces had been initiated by Jessica on grounds of irreconcilable differences. There was more. 3 previous relationships that hadn't reached marriage but had ended with the men giving her money loans that were never repaid, investments in businesses that never materialized. And there was a current phone number registered to Jessica that called a Connecticut area code regularly. 23 calls in the past month alone. David had traced it to a Marcus Webb, age 38, living in Hartford. His social media showed photos with Jessica from as recently as 3 weeks ago. The caption, "Miss my girl." She had a boyfriend. While planning her wedding to my son, she had a boyfriend. I closed the laptop and walked to my bathroom. Stared at myself in the mirror. I looked older than I had that morning. Tired. Foolish. But I wasn't broken. Not yet. I called David back. I need the full report. Everything you can find. Phone records, financial history, social media deep dive. And I need it before the wedding. I'll have it to you by Friday. Next, I called my attorney, Jonathan Ross. I'd used him for estate planning after Robert died. Jonathan, I need your help. Can you see me this week? It's urgent. Wednesday afternoon, I sat in his office and laid out everything. The money I'd given Michael and Jessica. Rachel's warning. David's findings. Jonathan listened without interrupting, taking notes. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. This is a mess, Carol. I'm sorry. Can I protect Michael? Legally? That's complicated. The house is in both their names? Yes. And you gave them the money as a gift, not a loan? No documentation? I nodded miserably. Then if they divorce, she's entitled to half under California law. As his wife, she'll have rights to assets acquired during marriage. He paused. Unless we can prove fraud. How? If we can establish she entered the marriage with intent to deceive for financial gain, that could affect the divorce settlement. But proving that is difficult. We'd need her to admit it or have clear evidence of the plan before the marriage. What about a post-nuptial agreement? Jonathan raised his eyebrows. After the wedding? That's unusual. Could we frame it as estate planning? Something about protecting assets for future grandchildren? He considered this. Possibly. But she'd need to sign voluntarily, with her own attorney present. If she smells a trap, she won't sign. What if we don't give her a choice? What do you mean? I thought about the house. About my $100,000 funding Jessica's scheme. About my son's trusting heart about to be shattered. What if we made it a condition of something she wants? Like what? An idea was forming. A way to protect Michael without destroying him before his wedding. A way to give Jessica enough rope to hang herself. Let me think about this, I said. I'll call you Friday. I spent Thursday thinking. Planning. Robert used to say I had a strategic mind. He'd loved watching me negotiate real estate deals, finding angles no one else saw. This was the most important negotiation of my life. Friday morning, David's full report arrived. It was worse than I'd imagined. Jessica had been scamming men for over a decade. Small cons at first, borrowed rent money, fake emergencies. Then she'd graduated to marriages. She had a pattern. Target lonely, financially stable men, play the role they needed. Take the money and run. Michael was just her latest mark. The Connecticut boyfriend, Marcus, had a record. Fraud. Identity theft. They'd met in an online forum about exploiting family court laws. I felt sick, but I also felt something else. Clarity. I called Jonathan. Can you draft a post-nuptial agreement? Make it look like standard estate planning but include clauses that protect Michael's assets in case of divorce? I can. But getting her to sign, leave that to me. Next, I called Michael. Honey, can you and Jessica come to dinner Sunday? There's something I want to discuss. Is everything okay, Mom? Everything's fine. I just want to talk about some financial planning before the wedding, nothing to worry about. Sunday evening, they arrived at my house holding hands. Jessica kissed my cheek. Something smells amazing. I'd made Michael's favorite pot roast with potatoes and carrots. We ate and chatted about last-minute wedding details. Jessica showed me her final choice for centerpieces on her phone. Michael talked about the honeymoon they'd planned to Hawaii. I smiled and nodded and served dessert apple pie, warm from the oven. This is perfect, Jessica said, squeezing my hand. These Sunday dinners are my favorite. After dessert, I brought out coffee. I wanted to talk to you both about something. Estate planning. Michael frowned. Mom, you're healthy, you don't need to worry about. I'm 64, honey. It's time to get things in order. I've been working with Jonathan Ross, my attorney. Now that you two are getting married, I want to make sure everything's structured properly. I pulled out a folder. Inside were documents Jonathan had prepared, a living trust, medical directives, and buried in the middle, a post-nuptial agreement template. What's all this? Michael asked. Mostly boring legal stuff. But there's one document I need you both to sign. It's called a post-nuptial agreement. Jessica's smile flickered. What's that? It's like a prenup, but signed after marriage. It protects family assets and clarifies estate distribution. Since I've contributed significantly to your home purchase, my attorney strongly recommended it. I watched Jessica's face carefully. She was good, her expression, stayed pleasant, but I saw the calculation in her eyes. I'm not sure I understand, she said slowly. It's simple. The house is currently in both your names. This agreement specifies that in the event of divorce, the $75,000 I contributed would be returned to my estate first, before any other division of assets. It also sets up a trust structure for any future inheritance. We're not getting divorced, Michael said, confused. Of course not, honey. This is just legal protection. Standard stuff. I turned to Jessica. Jonathan said both of you need to sign. You can have your own attorney review it first if you'd like. That seems... Jessica's voice was careful, complicated. For something that won't ever matter. Oh, it matters for estate tax purposes, I said smoothly. And it protects you too, Jessica. If anything happened to me, this ensures Michael's inheritance is clear and can't be contested. You'd both benefit. I don't know, Jessica said. It feels like we're planning for failure. We're planning for legal clarity, I corrected gently. I won't be around forever. This protects everyone. Michael looked between us. If Mom's lawyer says it's important, we should probably do it. Right, Jess? Jessica's smile was tight. Can we think about it? The wedding's next Saturday, I said. Jonathan needs the signed documents by Wednesday to file everything properly before you're legally married. Otherwise, we'd have to wait until after. And that could complicate things. Why don't we take the papers and review them? Jessica suggested. Of course. I handed her the folder. Jonathan's contact information is inside. He said you should have your own attorney look at it. That's standard procedure. They left shortly after. Through my front window, I watched them sit in Michael's car in my driveway for 15 minutes, clearly arguing. Finally, they drove away. I waited. Monday morning, Jessica called. Carol, I've been thinking about that agreement. It seems really formal for family. It's just paperwork, honey. Legal protection. But it makes me uncomfortable. Like you don't trust me. It's not about trust. It's about being responsible with my estate. Can we do it after the wedding? I don't want this hanging over our day. Jonathan was very clear about the timing. Something about marital asset classification. I let concern creep into my voice. Is something wrong? You seem worried about signing. No, no, it feels unromantic. I understand. But Michael already said he'd sign. Are you hesitant about something? I could almost hear her recalculating. If she refused to sign something Michael agreed to, it would look suspicious. If she pushed too hard, I might dig deeper. Let me talk to Michael, she finally said. Tuesday afternoon, Michael called. Mom, Jessica's really uncomfortable with this agreement thing. She thinks it means you don't approve of her. My heart broke for him. Honey, that's not true at all. Then why is it so important? I took a breath. Because I'm being responsible. Because I love you. Because I want to make sure you're protected. Protected from what? I almost told him. Almost laid out everything David had found. But I stopped myself. If I told him now, he'd either refuse to believe me and we'd be estranged forever, or he'd believe me and be devastated. Either way, Jessica would disappear, taking whatever money she could grab. This way, with the post-nup, at least his assets would be protected. Protected from legal complications, I said instead. That's all. I promise this isn't about Jessica personally. Can you call her? Talk to her? She respects you so much. I will. I called Jessica that evening. I hear I've upset you. That wasn't my intention. Carol, I've never had a real family. This feels like you're keeping me at arm's length. That's not what this is. Then why do I need to sign something that plans for our divorce before we're even married? It's not about divorce. It's about legal structure. It feels like you're saying I'm after Michael's money. There it was. The accusation she wanted me to deny. Of course not, I said smoothly. If I thought that, I wouldn't have given you both such a generous gift. I just need this done properly for tax purposes. Silence. Then, I need time to think. Wednesday is the deadline. That's not fair. It's just reality, sweetheart. Jonathan has to file the paperwork. If we miss the deadline, we'd have to wait until after the wedding, and then it becomes more legally complex. Can't we just skip it? I'm afraid not. My accountant and attorney both insisted. Another long silence. Let me talk to Michael. Wednesday morning, Michael called. We'll sign, Mum. But Jessica's hurt. You need to make this right. I will, I promise. That afternoon they came to Jonathan's office. I wasn't there, Jonathan said it would look better if I wasn't hovering. He called me afterward. They signed. She wasn't happy, but she signed. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in days. Thank you. Carol, what aren't you telling me? Later, I said. After the wedding. Friday was the rehearsal dinner. I'd reserved a private room at Michael's favorite restaurant. 20 people, family and close friends. Jessica was cold to me. Her smiles forced. Michael was trying too hard to smooth things over, making jokes that landed flat. But I gave my practice toast. To Michael and Jessica, may your marriage be filled with love, trust, and honesty. Jessica raised her glass, her eyes meeting mine. She knew, maybe not everything, but she knew something had shifted. Saturday dawned clear and beautiful. Perfect wedding weather. I arrived at the estate at noon. Rachel met me in the bridal suite, her expression concerned. How are you holding up? She asked quietly. I'm surviving. Did my information help? More than you know. Thank you. The ceremony was at 4. I sat in the front row, watching my son marry a woman who was planning to destroy him. Jessica looked stunning in her gown. Michael looked happy, and I felt like I was watching a beautiful lie. They exchanged vows. For richer or poorer, Jessica promised. In sickness and in health. I thought about Marcus in Connecticut, about the 2 ex-husbands, about the post-nup tucked safely in Jonathan's files. At the reception, I smiled through cocktails and dinner. I danced with Michael during the mother-son dance, his arms around me like when he was little. I'm sorry Jessica's upset with you, he whispered. It'll be fine, honey. I love you. I love you too, Mom. Then it was time for toasts. Michael spoke first, thanking everyone, his voice catching when he mentioned his late father. Jessica dabbed at her eyes. Then the DJ announced me. I walked to the microphone, my prepared speech in my hand. I'd rewritten it 17 times in the past week. Good evening, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Carol Bennett, Michael's mother. Polite applause. When Michael was born, Robert and I wondered what kind of man he'd become. Would he be kind, honest, strong? I'm so proud to say he's all those things and more. He got those qualities from his father. I looked at Michael, smiling. You've made me so proud, honey. And now you've found someone to build a life with. That's all any parent wants, to see their child happy and settled. I turned to Jessica. Jessica, you came into our lives at a time when I was lonely, when I wondered if I'd ever feel like I had family again. You seemed to offer that. You called me Mom. You made me believe I mattered. Her smile was frozen now. She sensed something coming. Marriage is about many things. Love, certainly. Companionship. But most of all, it's about trust. About building something together. About being honest about who you are and what you want. I paused, letting the words land. I've learned a lot in my 64 years. I've learned that people aren't always what they seem. That sometimes the sweetest smiles hide the most calculating hearts. I've learned to trust my instincts and to protect the people I love. The room was very quiet now. Michael's expression was confused. Jessica's face had gone pale. So my advice to you both is this. Be honest. Be true to your vows. Remember that marriage isn't just a legal contract, although it is that too, as you both acknowledged when you signed the post-nuptial agreement this week. I smiled warmly. That agreement protects both of you. It ensures that what was brought into this marriage stays protected. It makes sure that if God forbid something went wrong, everyone would be treated fairly. Jessica's jaw was clenched. Because that's what family does. We protect each other. We look out for each other. We don't use each other. I let that hang in the air. We don't see each other as opportunities. We see each other as people to love. I raise my glass. To Michael and Jessica, may your marriage last as long as it's built on truth, and may you both get exactly what you deserve. The room murmured uncertain agreement and drank. I sat down. Jessica leaned toward Michael, whispering furiously. His face showed confusion, then concern. But it was their wedding day, and there were guests watching. They had to smile through it. The rest of the reception passed in a blur. I left before the cake cutting, claiming a headache. Rachel found me in the parking lot. That was quite a speech. Too much? Perfectly calibrated. She smiled. I hope it works. So do I. The newlyweds left for their Hawaii honeymoon Sunday morning. I spent the week trying not to think about them on a beach somewhere, Jessica pretending everything was fine while planning her exit. But I'd done what I could. The post-nup would protect Michael's assets. And maybe, hopefully, Jessica would make a mistake. 2 weeks after they returned, Michael called. Mom, can we talk? My heart sank. Of course. Jessica wants to get the post-nup annulled. On what grounds? She says you pressured her to sign it, that she felt coerced. Did she have her own attorney review it? Well, no, but then there was no coercion. She signed it voluntarily with legal representation available. She says she only signed because she didn't want to upset you before the wedding. Michael, why does she want it annulled? He was quiet. She says it's insulting. Like we're planning for divorce. Or, I said carefully, she wants it annulled because it prevents her from taking your assets when she divorces you. Mom, that's crazy. Why would you even say that? Because I know things you don't. Like what? I'd been waiting for this moment. Dreading it. Can you come over, tonight, without Jessica? He arrived at 7, his expression guarded. I had David's report on the table. Before you look at this, I need you to know I didn't want to find this. I wanted to be wrong. Find what? I handed him the folder. The truth about Jessica. He read for 10 minutes. I watched his face change: confusion, disbelief, anger, devastation. This can't be real. I hired a private investigator. It's all documented. 2 previous marriages? A boyfriend in Connecticut? His voice cracked. She told me she'd only been seriously in a relationship once before, and he cheated on her. I'm sorry. The phone calls these are from last month. From before the wedding. He looked up at me, his eyes wet. She was with him while planning our wedding. I nodded. He stood, paced my living room. Why didn't you tell me before? Would you have believed me? He stopped. Thought about it. No, I would have thought you were jealous, or trying to control me. I would have married her anyway. That's why I didn't tell you. I couldn't stop the wedding, but I could protect you from the aftermath. The post-nup. The post-nup. He sank back onto the couch, his head in his hands. I'm such an idiot. No. You're trusting. That's not the same thing. She played me. She played both of us. Yes. For money. Yes. He was quiet for a long time. When he finally looked up, there was something new in his expression. Something harder. What do I do? What do you want to do? I want to confront her. Do you want witnesses? He blinked. What? I pulled out my phone. I can call Rachel, the event coordinator. She overheard Jessica's phone call. She'll testify if you need it for a divorce. You've been planning this. I've been preparing for this. There's a difference. He took a shaky breath. I don't know if I can face her. You can. You're Robert's son. You're stronger than you think. Will you be there? If you want me. I do. That evening, Michael called Jessica and asked her to come to my house. Mom wants to apologize for the speech. She has something for us. Jessica arrived 30 minutes later, suspicious but smiling. Carol. Michael said you wanted to talk? I do. Come in. She stepped inside and saw Michael's face. The smile faltered. What's going on? Michael held up David's report. Who's Marcus Webb? Her face went white. Who are Richard Mendoza and David Park? Michael, I can explain. Can you? Because this report says you've been married twice before. Both times for about 18 months. Both times ending with divorce settlements. Both times leaving men who trusted you. Those relationships were complicated. And Marcus? His voice was rising. Your boyfriend in Connecticut? The one you called 23 times last month while we were planning our wedding? It's not what it looks like. Then what is it? Because it looks like you scammed me. Like you scammed my mother. Like this whole thing was a con. Jessica's face hardened. The sweetness evaporated. You know what? Fine. Yes, Marcus is my boyfriend. Yes, I've been married before. So what? We're married now. California is community property. You can't touch me. Actually, I said quietly, he can. You signed a post-nuptial agreement. She spun toward me. That thing doesn't mean anything. I'll get it thrown out. On what grounds? You had the opportunity to have your own attorney review it. You signed voluntarily. It's legally binding. You manipulated me. I protected my son. She looked between us, realizing her mistake. She'd revealed herself too soon. Whatever. I'll take you both to court. I'll drag this out. It'll cost you more in legal fees than just giving me what I deserve. Maybe, I said. Or maybe we'll submit Rachel's testimony about what she overheard, and David's report documenting your pattern of fraud. And maybe we'll make sure every detail ends up in public record. Jessica's eyes flashed with something ugly. You can't prove anything. We can prove enough. Enough to make your life very difficult. Enough that Marcus might not want to stick around. Enough that future Marks might Google your name and find some very interesting information. She grabbed her purse. I want a divorce. Fine, Michael said quietly. My attorney will contact yours. She started toward the door, then turned back. You people deserve each other. You're both so pathetic, you with your dead husband's shrine and you with your boring life. I would have gone crazy trapped in this family. And yet you tried so hard to get in, I said. She slammed the door on her way out. Michael stood frozen. I walked to him, put my arms around him. He collapsed against me, sobbing like he had when he was small and his goldfish died. I'm sorry, he kept saying. I'm so sorry. You have nothing to apologize for. You loved her. That's not wrong. I should have seen it. She was good at lying. That's not your fault. We stood there for a long time. My son broken but safe. The divorce took 4 months. Jessica tried to fight the post-nup, but Jonathan was thorough. With Rachel's testimony and David's documentation of her pattern of fraud, Jessica's attorney advised her to settle. She got nothing. The house stayed in Michael's name. The $75,000 I'd given them was recovered. The wedding costs were a loss, but I'd have paid 10 times that to protect my son. Marcus left her when the public record showed she had no money. Last I heard, she'd moved to Florida. Michael moved back home with me for a while. We ate Sunday dinners together. We didn't talk about Jessica much. Slowly, he healed. I don't think I can trust anyone again, he said one night. You will, just not right away. How did you know? How did you figure it out? I didn't want to believe it, but Rachel gave me information I couldn't ignore. And once I started looking, the truth was obvious. You saved me. I protected you. That's what mothers do. 6 months after the divorce was final, Michael met someone new. Her name was Lauren. She was a third-grade teacher. She had her own apartment, her own car, her own life. She didn't call me mom right away. She didn't try too hard. I liked her immediately. Now it's been 2 years. Michael and Lauren are engaged. A modest engagement, no pressure. They're planning a small wedding. They don't want my money, just my blessing. I'm happy to give it. Sometimes I think about Jessica, about how close she came to destroying my son, about how I almost let her because I was too desperate for family. But I learned something through it all. I learned that family isn't about not being alone. It's about being with people who genuinely love you, even if that's only one or two people. Quality over quantity. I also learned that quiet resilience is more powerful than dramatic confrontation. I didn't scream or fight or publicly shame Jessica. I gathered facts, protected my son, and let her expose herself. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is prepare and wait. These days I still volunteer at the library. I still tend my garden. I still eat dinner alone most nights. But I'm not lonely. Michael calls me every Sunday. Lauren and I text about books. I have my book club and my friends. I'm okay with my life. I don't need to manufacture family. The real ones find you when you're ready. And I'm always ready to protect the people I truly love. That's what I learned at 64. Sometimes love means saying no. Sometimes it means asking questions. Sometimes it means gathering evidence and signing documents and giving speeches that make people uncomfortable. But always, always, it means choosing truth over comfort. I chose truth, and Michael is safe. That's all that matters.